3, 2,
Recording here.
1.
Do we sound check everything? Or does it sound okay?
We're all good, yeah, we're good.
Okay, and let me get my alarm going.
There's an alarm going.
I just didn't know if this ridiculous mic stand would make it sound. Well, I hoped that if this worked, I could just leave it here because I don't use it at home.
Yeah.
But it's a little tall, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
It's a little up there.
Is that chair all the way down or is it all the way up?
I think it's all the way up. I don't know. I mean, I'm visually where I want to be with Zimmy, eye to eye where I like it. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure
This is just a little... Here, I brought this puzzle. Let's see if one of you can do it while we do the podcast.
I'll try. I'm terrible at puzzles,
gonna
but
try
sure.
it.
Why not?
In the background. So this week,
Yeah.
live from Jackson & Company Studios, we have the Ginger Stick,
Hello.
who's also part of Jackson & Company, for those who you didn't know.
He's the company.
He is the company.
I am the
He's
and-
CEO.
oh,
Doc.
yes.
Jackson. And
Adam
this
is the
and
CEO
company.
and company. And company.
Yeah.
We were just, before we hit record, we were talking about football stuff, and since the Packers did not make the playoffs this year.
They did not. Which is weird because, you know,
Yeah. Because,
two-time MVP and everything.
yeah, you'd think.
All that money.
All the overthinking and bad decisions led to an 8-9 season. But the thing that was consistent like this whole year, and especially yesterday, was how poor the officiating has gotten, like over the last few years, but especially like this season. Mm-hmm. The amount of sort of guessing, or not guessing, but just sort of like blatant misses, or just the mismanagement of regular referee operations is probably the worst part. Like the clock management issues, the one yesterday, or two yesterday.
Both games yesterday were pretty bad.
Both games. But it's like there's almost too much control. Like the ticky-tack kind of holding call.
That was my thing yesterday. Like
just
you got to decide pre-game how you're going to call this game. And you can't call it one way for the Chiefs and one way for the Bengals. Like,
right, you can't.
Like, it feels like the Chiefs were getting away with some stuff that the Bengals were not getting away with. And I feel like while we're criticizing rules in the NFL, we need to make a decision about quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Either they're playing football and that's why they have pads and helmets and shit, or like we should put flags and shorts on them.
Or do two-hand touch.
Exactly, because like some of the rules for roughing the pass, like how do you tackle someone without landing on them?
Well, I think this is interesting. I was thinking about this. I was talking to my dad about this. So, because the way the league was and has been for a long time, it was a passing league. Quarterbacks were the king piece of the entire offensive structure. Yeah. But now, in the last like 3 or 4 years, the trend is going towards teams having a really, really strong running game and a quarterback that can just run the system.
Right.
And be very good at that system.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that Mahomes, obviously, that guy's, he's an exception. Joe Burrow, excellent quarterback, but he runs a really strong system. Mm-hmm. That's good for him. So it almost seems like yesterday there was like a argument for, well, you should be able to have 3 active quarterbacks for the 49er game.
Didn't that used to be the rule that like your third stringer didn't count towards
the 53?
Yeah.
But you have to basically you can still only really manage 2 of them.
Sure.
So, but what the rules should, just the way the rules should be, but the playoffs. The playoffs, I think you should be able to have 3 active quarterbacks.
Sure.
Because then you get in a 49er situation. Not that a backup would have come in and
I can't
but
believe
still.
Let's take a moment and feel for Purdy a little bit. Like, that
man.
sucks. And then the 4th string guy gets concussed.
Josh Johnson.
I almost wondered if like it was just too much for him, and he was like, "I'm just gonna bounce my head off the ground and pray to God that one of the red
I'm just gonna
and, like saves me. There's no way it's gonna.
He
work.
walks off. He's like, I'm gonna wobble a little bit on my way
Right.
off. So somebody's get in the blue tent. But the officiating though, back to your point was, I mean, there's just so much inconsistency of basic general rules and processes that end up, causing teams to have to get to the line later than they'd like, or the clock is wrong and every single second counts, especially in a playoff game. And when they're getting that kind of stuff wrong, something's got to change.
And even like
basic stuff.
In the Eagles game, there was a big, like very early on, maybe in their first drive, there was that amazing catch that like they came back from commercial and were like, oh, he didn't catch that.
Right.
And it's like, well, That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, and I would think that the league would be worried that people are going to get fed up and kind of stop watching because it's not fun. And in the background of all of this, you have sports gambling where, like, the Chiefs were the underdog. So, like, FanDuel lost a whole shitload of money because Torbert won his first championship.
Yeah.
Adam's going to be real quiet on this episode.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch either of the games, so I don't have much input. And this puzzle sucks.
The puzzle sucks.
They were good games. I mean, if we learn nothing from the 49ers game, you do still need a quarterback.
Yeah,
Even though it's a run-heavy league now, like, once it became clear, like, oh, they're not throwing it. Because what happened, so Purdy got hurt pretty early on. They put in the fourth-string guy. He gets concussed almost immediately.
Like a couple plays.
1 or 2 series. So then it was either Christian McCaffrey is their fifth-string quarterback.
Wildcat, yeah.
Or you put Brock Purdy back in and just don't throw it, which is what they went with.
What injury did Brock Purdy have?
Shoulder or something?
His elbow.
Or elbow.
He got whomped in the arm when he was, like, throwing. It was one of those weird, he was moving his arm forward as fast as he could, and the defender was moving his arm up as fast as he could, and they, like, collided and messed up his elbow real bad.
Yeah. Well, the quarterback situation for the 49ers is going to be super interesting this offseason.
I don't think the market for, like, and again, maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know. I don't know.
For aging quarterbacks?
Indeed.
It'll be there.
I think it'll be there, but I also think there's an undeniable, like, youth trend, not just in football in general, but, like, right now. Like, I saw someone said that Jordan Love is almost the exact same age as Burrow and Mahomes.
He is, yeah. Yeah, he was very young when he got drafted. So let's just say what I think is going to happen. What I said last week, Rodgers gets traded, and Love is the starter. He will be 2 years younger than Aaron Rodgers was when he started.
Do you have a theory on where you think Rodgers is going? I know everyone thinks it's the Jets.
I would say kind of what we mentioned last week. I'd say Jets, Raiders are probably the top two because I think they have the chess pieces and they have the
See, I think that, like, he's got personal kind of ego reasons to not go to either of those places. I think if he goes to the Jets...
He's got ego reasons for fucking everything.
But that's true. But I'm saying, like, if he goes to the Jets, he's in Favre's shadow all the more.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
he was pretty
the
bad.
Exact same route, though.
Well, not by choice. Like, he didn't pick to go to the Jets.
Yeah.
Neither one of them did. Or that was a GM move. In fact, that was sort of a fuck-off move by Ted Thompson to send him to the Jets.
Send him to the Jets.
Knowing that he'd come back the next year and probably be the Vikings quarterback.
And then there's the whole, like, if he goes to the Raiders, I wonder how he would feel about kind of admitting that, like, oh, I'm not as good without Devontae. And not that anybody would be better with Devontae Adams. Like, it's not that weird. I'm not sure.
Rodgers has a long... I mean, no, it's hard to play quarterback good for a handful of years, and he's played it for most of his career.
Yeah.
No matter who's been catching passes from him. Like, the throws he makes, he still makes those throws that only Aaron Rodgers can make. He just doesn't make them as often.
Yeah.
So having a guy like Devontae now definitely helps things, but I don't think Rodgers looks at it like that.
I think the media will.
Oh. Well, remember, he doesn't listen
He doesn't
to the media.
look at the media. He always knows exactly what they're thinking.
He doesn't.
He actually said, he's like, I have people that keep up with that stuff, and they told me.
Yeah.
I'm like, bullshit.
So, I have 2 football-related conspiracy or no's. 2 of them.
Okay.
Which one would you like to hear first?
How could we possibly answer that question if we don't know what they are?
Well, one of them we briefly talked about last week.
Okay. I would say whatever one you think will be the shorter one. You should open with that.
Well, the shorter one is back to the official discussion.
It's rigged?
That in a way, but it's specifically rigged against the Packers. Now, let me explain.
By Aaron Rodgers, I think so.
All of these old-ass officials
Yeah.
grew up loving football.
Yeah.
And they grew up where the Packers completely dominated. So unless they're from Green Bay, Wisconsin, they grew up hating the Packers. That subconscious hate for the Green Bay Packers sits in that brain all the way through their love of football. So you think when they get on the field and they look at all these jerseys and they're in the heat of the moment, you don't think that they might accidentally go against the Packers?
The age is wrong. How old do you think the average ref is?
90.
So when you were growing up, the Packers were good.
I know. Well, but then they were also really good again in the 90s. And now those guys are the younger officials. So it's this circular motion of the oldest guys were the 60s Packers haters.
Sure.
And then the younger guys hate the 90s Packers.
So you think there's
subconscious.
Well, I guess that would make sense. There are people that could be ref.
There's a subconscious bias against the Green Bay Packers by the NFL officials. Conspiracy, yeah or no?
I'm going to say no, because I don't feel like when we lose, it's because of the refs. Do you?
Well, it's a number of factors. It could be penalties, mistakes, it could be whatever.
Sure.
But I just look at things like I just remember. Okay, here's an example, and I wish I could find the video for this because I've had it in my brain for years. In 1995, the Packers are playing the Jets at home, and Edgar Bennett was running the ball. I think it was Edgar Bennett or Dorsey Levens, one of those two.
I forgot about Dorsey Levens.
Was running the ball. Gets hit, ball fumbles out of bounds, recovered by the Jets out of bounds, and they signal Jets ball. But through replay, turns out ball was out of bounds before the guy could grab it. Sure. And the official's explanation of this play was, the Green Bay player fumbled the ball. Unfortunately, the ball was recovered out of bounds. And I'm like, unfortunately? What? Oops. So I challenge anybody to find the game that was in either 94 or 95 against the Jets. In the first quarter this happened, and my dad and I have been bringing it up for years, this official saying, unfortunately, it was recovered out of bounds. Like, okay, that's unfortunate for the Packers, or unfortunate for you that the Packers, like, anyway, but just like little things. So obviously, this is part of my psycho fandom, seeping in to think that everybody's against the Packers. Sure. I get it. So it's not really conspiracy, but an interesting conspiracy along those lines. The Lance Easley touchdown, the Fail Mary. Do you remember the backstory of the Fail Mary?
Yes.
The NFL's officiating union was on strike.
And they were filling people, the replacements.
So what bigger game to show the urgency to get a deal done with the NFL to cave to the officials?
Who orchestrated that?
These scab officials, who are still officials, again.
So the scabs
were actually trying to help the
working
union,
on behalf of
the union to get a deal done. So they waited till a Monday night football game when everybody's watching to blatantly blow an entire game worth of calls, not just that last call. Yeah, but that whole game was it was in the whole commentary of the officials are on strike and we're going to see stuff that doesn't really it really culminated into a total clusterfuck. Not that you could pick that play to exacerbate the situation at the end where MD Jennings clearly comes down with the ball and is down. But every play throughout that entire game, most of those calls were questionable throughout. And of course, what happens? Big kerfuffle.
The strike, right?
The strike ends a few days later.
Anyway,
maybe it's all rigged. Maybe it's not. The other conspiracy is one that I've shared with you both.
That you did a stunning amount of research on.
Do you want to describe how this came about? Because I think it was first. It was like maybe Kirk Cousins.
Well, I think the working theory was
he's a weird dude.
He's a weird dude.
Yep.
And the reason he moves around so much, maybe even the reason that we could extend the conspiracy by saying Kirk Cousins he has these flashes of brilliance. And it makes you wonder if he plays down to a worse level so that he'll get traded a lot because he's a serial killer and he can't stay in one place too long.
Well, or he does stay, but he only stays on 1-year deals. So he can quickly and agile move cities.
If it starts to feel a little episode 8 of a season of Dexter, he can just bail.
He can
killing dogs like
right.
that.
So he can get more money, more guaranteed money, have more flexibility to jump cities if he's got to, do like Dexter did and move up to Alaska, change his name. Spoiler alert. Maybe that's not a spoiler. It's just part of it. If you were a serial killer whose cover is to play in the NFL, where would you want to play?
Minnesota.
And where was he before that?
D.C.
Washington, D.C.
Well, D.C., I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, they have different, so Minnesota, because it's quiet,
yeah.
and you might, I don't want to besmirch the police work in Minnesota, but you might assume that it's not top-notch in Minnesota.
Well, let's think about the geography.
And then D.C., you can blend, because there's like
murder rates
Dexter
are
in Miami,
yeah.
you just blend right in.
You just blend right in.
But you seem to uncover that murder rates go up when Kirk Cousins is.
Well, let's look at it. I'll flash on the screen. But when you're in Washington, D.C., you're playing for fellow serial killer Daniel Snyder, the horrible owner, who's probably going to lose his. Yeah, he might not be owner. And then Minnesota.
They'll push him out for sure.
Well, but he's surrounded by murderers there, whether in Congress or wherever, indirect or direct.
Right.
But in Minnesota, 2 hours north, he's in Canada.
There you go. Yeah, he's got a nice little back door there.
Yeah. So Kirk Cousins was in D.C. from 2012 to 2017. Washington, D.C. has more violent crime than any U.S. city. But especially during the window of time in which Kirk Cousins was the quarterback. And I have since highlighted these stats that are official that genuinely show the murder rate from 2012 to 2017.
But how many
higher?
how many unsolved murders?
Well, that we don't know. I could look into that. That's a great point. Maybe I will look into unsolved murders.
You could
Because that
also-
was an uptick too.
You can get really narrow and see if they go down slightly when they're playing away games.
We could. And then if murder rates go up in those cities.
Right.
Oh,
We're gonna in the off season.
What do you need?
So, Kirk Cousins, serial killer? Yeah or no?
For his sake, I hope. Yeah, I just want him to be good at something.
Yeah.
He's good at losing in prime time. He's very good at that.
He's pretty good at that.
He's got the look.
He does
He's
look.
got
He
kind
does
of
look like one.
the dead eyes.
Well, especially that last pass after he had a weird underbite, walk into the sidelines. He just looked strange as fuck.
The underbite.
It's a telltale sign right
It
there.
is right there.
We got to see if
Plus-
he wet the bed as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I think there's enough there that we can conclude.
We should look into it for sure.
Well, I think it's definitely. It's yes. We've looked into it. We have some new chips today. Well, they're not chips. They're puffs, but still same.
As long as they're not
general
fucking fish flavored again.
Oh my
dude.
God.
I couldn't.
Good lord.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I think I had an allergic reaction.
Really?
Like that night.
I had the toots real bad.
No. Well, I only ate one chip.
Yeah,
That's all
me
I could do. But I started my throat started to kind of feel weird, and I started getting short of breath. And I had a hive pop up on my arm. So I'm like, okay, so I must be allergic to whatever.
Well, I mean, they did have that warning label right on the
Science
side.
says you
Or
should
whatever.
See what happens.
No, I threw that shit away. Those things are gone forever. But this week we got Herr's again. Making
Coming
just
in hot.
excellent snacks.
Potentially a future sponsor, maybe.
Oh, but it's amazing. Well, here's a quick quiz.
Yeah.
What were the chip flavor that Karen was looking for?
Was it
by
salt and
Herr's?
vinegar?
No. Was it?
Yes, I
No, it
believe
was.
so.
Okay. I haven't seen those anywhere.
Oh, really?
So maybe those are fake. But we don't have to jump into Crunchy Corn.
Sure.
Do you want to go into grievances first?
Sure. I have an interesting one.
I have one
You
too.
have one too? Is yours funny? Because mine's more like discussion. Okay, so here's my thing.
Okay.
So, we're all getting older. And as you get older, at least I want to try to avoid becoming like a crotchety old bastard if I can.
Right.
So if I see something that frustrates me, try to be empathetic, and I try to, well, I guess that's not so bad because it's good because of whatever. I've noticed a trend the last little bit here that people, in my estimation, are staying at restaurants too long. I have walked into restaurants, gotten a table, noted that I was surrounded by people that were done eating, and they were still there when I left. They just sit there. And I want to go like, well, I mean, it's nice they're out with friends and they're communing and it's a whole thing. So rather than just be pissy about it, I put it to you guys. What do you think is the appropriate amount of time between the bill is on the table, get your ass out of here, we work on turnover, you're done buying stuff, you're done tipping. I've been to restaurants, like some favorites of ours, like we couldn't get a table, but you're looking around and going like, kick them out, they're all done eating.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Can you put a number on it?
If it's busy, it's a busy night.
If the table, if people are having
Waiting,
to wait,
yes.
yeah.
If there's a wait, I would say maximum 5 minutes.
Oh.
Maximum.
Okay.
So you get your check, it's back. Hey, great to see you, great to see you, great to see you. Yeah, and then you kind of like, have the conversation, then you kind of move the conversation out the door with the group.
Sure. You go to a bar, go to a coffee
Go
place,
hang
to
by the
someone's
bar,
house,
right?
whatever.
Because if you're all done ordering drinks or whatever, it's time to up and leave.
Sure.
If there's no line and you're just kind of chatting,
Yeah.
then
if you're not putting anybody out,
it's
that's
not a
fine.
big deal. But if there's people waiting and it's like, oh, actually, hey, we should, you have to have the awareness to make sure.
See, I said 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, 5 to 10 minutes.
Sure.
I'm
glad we
reasonable
agreed.
wrap up time.
Yeah. Because I don't want to like ruin anyone's evening, and you're, maybe you're having dinner with old friends or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not a lounge.
It's not a lounge.
Take it somewhere else.
It's not a lounge. You have
Adam,
plenty of
what do
places to
you
go.
think?
Well, as a former kind of server, I was a bartender.
Where?
At the B.
I was at the
Bees.
Bees. Oh, it was terrible.
Did you see that Bees is gone over on the east side?
Such a shame.
Getting replaced
Such
by
a shame.
Chili's. Just kidding. Probably.
That's a lateral move, man.
It's a fucking new Olive Garden on our side. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I would say 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's like you said, they work on turnover. And if you don't get turnover, you're making $2 an hour. So fuck off.
Right.
Fucking leave.
Because there have been 2 instances where I just happened to like notice, and I told Tori like, those people were done when we sat down, and we're leaving before them. Like they're just sitting around, like, laughing it up, and it's even worse at a place with like a chips and salsa situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's like, oh, we'll take some more chips and salsa. And
Oh,
you're like,
yeah. No.
That's a free meal.
See, it's tough though, because sometimes those were the groups that if you allow them to sit and mingle, they'll maybe order another drink or two, and then you will get a very big tip from them.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's weird give and take with that.
So here's a question. We've all waited tables, right? You waited tables?
Yes.
Or busing or
Sure, yeah.
anything. Ever do it for anybody who is quasi-famous or famous? Anybody?
No.
Packer players, anything?
I know there were
I have a
Packer.
really weird and random one.
Okay.
There were Packer players that came into the cigar lounge, but they were like not from this era, or when I worked there, not from that era. So I had no
Okay.
idea who the hell they were. So I know Adam Brody had come into the cigar lounge a couple times to get rolling
What?
papers.
What?
Yeah.
Call us?
I wasn't there.
What?
Sign
Wait.
all my death cabs.
Why was he in town?
I don't know. I was just told that by employees.
Summer with him?
I have no idea.
He doesn't deserve her. So why would Adam Brody be in Appleton?
He was in a band for a while. He played drums in a band called Big in Japan. Maybe they were touring,
Maybe.
playing the BFG or something.
Wait, did he do
Did he do theater?
theater? Did he do theater, Adam Brody?
I don't know.
PAC maybe?
It's possible. Maybe.
Between the comedy club and the PAC, it always seems like there's random spottings of people. Like, who have you guys heard? Like, there's a handful of lists I can remember just because when Sarah worked at the comedy club, a lot of those comedians would come in.
Heard or actually spotted?
Or spotted.
I'm trying to decide, try to decide if I should qualify it because I'm not really a fan.
Oh, okay.
But I went to get a cup of coffee and I texted you. Brendan Schaub was at a Coca.
Oh, yeah.
With like a whole bunch of people.
Oh, okay.
But he's
Yeah.
very funny.
I guess I've never really heard any of his comedy.
This is the one instance where I do wish, not even wish, I wonder what it would be like if, obviously I'm not like a shut up and sing kind of guy, because I'm not the kind of guy who does that. But sometimes I think it would be nice to just be able to like hear a song or a joke or see a movie, and not have to worry about like, what else am I signing off on if I tell people that I like this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally. I don't know. There's a lot of visibility. I think comics especially tend to start getting wrapped into things that they maybe didn't anticipate getting into when they got into comedy. You need comedians to give political commentary, no matter what it is. It's just like that's what they do. Like if they comment on society, oftentimes excellent questions are brought to the forefront through jokes.
Sure.
But it feels like some of these guys have just gotten so phased out because their comedy hasn't changed, and they sort of gravitated towards just trying to stay relevant, and then that meant going into the political realm a little bit,
And I think
or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the culture of podcasting affected it too, because like I had you never would ever hear comedians talk. You heard their jokes.
You heard their, that was it.
And maybe there was
Totally
like something in that was political or had whatever, but like, now you
get the full thing. You get it all.
Yeah. And the ones that have their own podcast, like if you wanted to, you could listen to certain comedians talk for 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Well, you want to. That's a lot.
How about you, Adam? Anybody randomly that you've spotted that's famous? No? In Appleton, besides Ed Bassmaster?
No.
Future guest, Ed Bassmaster?
I mean, that one wasn't even by chance either, so I don't know if that
okay.
one counts.
Matt LaFleur was at the Appleton West game, like a kids tournament this past weekend. Anyway, it was just in the paper. So he was. He met
Thompson walked through one of my shows once.
So anyway, I guess he took pictures with the teams that were playing. I think maybe his kids were in the tournament or something. But anyway, Lewis Black likes to frequent Cleo's.
Sure.
And he likes to frequent some of the cocktail lounges. And he's pretty open about it, his love for those places downtown. A couple of sweeties from when Sarah was working at the comedy club that I got to hang out with and know as genuine people, and since podcasting has become big, are the same person, is Doug Benson. Kind of stoner comic, but
the name sounds familiar.
He did that documentary, Super High Me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, but he had a podcast.
What'd you guys talk about?
Honestly, one of the funniest things, we talked about storms.
Storms?
Storms. Yeah.
Getting stormed and
no, just like it was the funniest experience because after the show, the former owner of the comedy club, myself, and the comedian would just kind of hang out and kind of puff it a little bit, and the guy, his handler that he was with was another comedian, but a sober guy would drive him around and they would do shows together. Yeah. And he's like, I forget exactly what it was. He's like, what's the weather going to be like? And Cliff's like, oh, we're supposed to get some nasty storms tonight. He's like, I remember being in some pretty nasty storms as a kid, too. Tornado once. Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. Like, just like stupid shit. And Sarah used to say, like, some of these guys just live it. Like, that's just who they are. And they're in front of a microphone. It's the only job they could ever have.
Sure.
Right? And some of them are very, there's a business to it. There's calculated. They kind of are more quieter and whatever.
Yeah,
but
like
Doug Benson is sort of just always Doug Benson.
That's funny.
So I thought that was just kind of funny. And we walk out at the same time, and Sarah and I are headed to the car. And he's like, well, looks like there's a storm brewing. We're walking out, and it's just him walking out. And I'm like, this is hilarious. But just one of the funniest situations. That was probably one of the more fun times. But Ari Shaffir is very different now than what he was when I met and hung out with him. He's very different now.
He's another one that I feel like
he went a little far.
Yeah, he went a little far, and I feel like there's a risk of comedians. It seems to me that some comedians enjoy pissing people off.
Ari's one of them.
Which is fine. But with Ari, I really feel like you forgot the funny part, though.
Sometimes.
Like, you're just pissing people off saying real dumb,
just
aggravating
stupid shit, yeah.
Like, I remember, like, I don't even know exactly what he did. But the thing, like, there was a Kobe thing.
Oh,
bad,
so when
bad.
Kobe died,
Yeah.
he tweeted, he's like, did everybody forget that Kobe, like, allegedly raped a woman?
So people were like, well, maybe, that's not.
Yeah, that's...
And again, I'm torn because, like, I tend to come down on the side of, like, you could joke about anything if it's funny. And that's my thing, that, like, a lot of times I think some comedians forget that like it's supposed to be funny though.
Right.
You know, and that's why I think like why a lot of humor doesn't work because it's just not funny.
Yeah.
Like you'd be amazed at what you'll see people laugh at if it's funny.
We are in like a very much of a golden age of comedy with the amount of talent that's out there. I mean, there's really not many bad specials.
No. And I think there's some really exciting like there's a few people Hassan Minaj did one, Neil Brennan did one, and Mike Birbiglia has done like 10.
Neil Brennan.
Where it's not like straight up stand up though, it's more like a one man show and there's moments where it's funny, but then there's moments where it's really serious and then there's I like that a lot.
Yeah, he's an interesting Neil Brennan's an interesting dude too. He's been around a writer forever.
Neil Brennan, yes, he's been around he freaks me out. He has a podcast and I tried to watch it a couple times, but he has this thing that he does where he regularly gets like an itch in the back of his throat.
Oh.
And he has a device that he uses to scratch the back of his throat. So it'll be on camera, he's like doing the podcast, and all of a sudden he'll just and he like tries to talk through it, and you're just like, what is happening?
Oh my god! Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What? Have you ever watched Lex Friedman's podcast or heard of it?
I've seen like clips and stuff.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Might be one of the best podcasters that's out there because he's so intelligent and
one with Rick
thoughtful.
Rubin.
Yeah. He used to teach at UW-Madison. Yeah. He was a professor at UW-Madison for a short period. Now he's at MIT.
Like a ninja, right?
He's a professor of like artificial intelligence or at MIT.
Do you ever get the impression that he might be artificial intelligence?
He's very robotic.
He's very buttoned up, and he always wears a suit, and he's got like this accent.
So he was born in the Ukraine.
Okay, but it's that kind of accent that's just an accent that you hear.
It's very
like,
light.
Yeah, and you're like, that almost sort of just sounds like a robot.
Like what was the character on The Simpsons? The Arnold Schwarzenegger.
McBain? All right.
Robotic McBain. Oh, yeah, Rainier Wolfcastle. That's right. Oh
my son is a nerd.
He's a nerd. Oh, my God. I was hanging out with one of my friends over the weekend, and we always quote that show. And I forget what happened, but automatically in my head, all I could think of was, can I borrow a feeling?
That's spooky, dude. I watched that episode last night. It's the one where Milhouse's parents get divorced.
They get divorced?
Yeah.
And his dad wrote that song?
Yeah.
Can I borrow a feeling? Oh my God.
Can you lend me a cup of love? And Milhouse's mom starts dating Pyro from the American Gladiator.
That's right. It's the American Gladiator. Oh my God.
I just watched that last night.
So what is it on now?
I have the first 20 seasons on DVD.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen it's on, but everywhere that it's sort of on, it's like it's still trimmed back.
Yeah, and in Hulu, they only have a couple episodes.
Oh, that's right. It's on Hulu, or Disney Plus owns it.
Oh, maybe it's on there. I have Disney Plus, and I never go on there to
the
find stuff.
Star Wars stuff is pretty.
I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah. What other grievances do you have besides the restaurant?
I mean, I can always whip a couple up, but I think that was.
I don't know if I have. I don't want. So here's a grievance.
Okay.
And I think you'll agree with this grievance. But It's the annual reminder that awards for art are just fucking dumb.
Don't tell me we didn't get nominated again. What do you?
Oh, no, I'm sure we could. We just have one of our loved ones go to the website, register, and then nominate one of us. I just don't get it. I just don't. Even when it comes to, I don't care what it is, like a Grammy.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean, it's great to get recognized for, a good piece of art or whatever that you put together. But it doesn't have to be in this, competitive environment.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird to me.
What has always troubled me about awards for art.
I heard how you said that. Adam, you know what we're talking about.
So what has always troubled me about giving out awards for art is that someone has to lose. Like many people have to lose, and I don't understand. Because also at the end of the day, it's not based on anything objective. It's not based on like numbers of any kind. It's not like because you get gold records and platinum records and shit for that.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like, oh, we sold X amount. It's
Yeah.
like here's something that you have as a memory of doing
Right. And that's cool. Or like
because that many people liked your album.
or like if you sell out to Sylvie, they give you a trophy.
Yeah.
That says fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
But like I never understood a very relatively small number of people, no matter what the award is, to be clear. It's voted on by a small number of people.
Yeah.
And like, what does that mean?
I don't know.
That like these 10 people voted and I'm better than you, or I'm not as good as you, or
I don't know.
It feels like what really strikes me in this might be a little spicy. I
Just say what you're thinking.
Okay, I don't want to win an award. I genuinely don't want to, which makes me curious. What is different about my approach to my art than someone who wants very badly to win an award? And it's hard to like. I guess if you're. I get how it would be flattering to like win an award. I guess, but like. It seems like I don't understand when people get excited about it because like what does it mean? What do you get? Like like again, if I won, if we put out like a record and some organization was like, hey, we thought your record was so good, we're gonna pay for the next one.
You mean
I'd be like,
our next?
Right on.
You mean our next record, which is coming out, this scenario will happen anyway.
Yeah,
of course.
We're not gonna have to move to Canada to get the government of Canada to pay for our record. We haven't
not
texted
yet.
about that in private a lot.
Not yet.
But you know what I mean? Like if it
5-year plan. It's fine.
Right. If it meant something. But I also like you know, we got an award once, and I've been around in a very small way a number of things that I know people think they want, and then I've gotten them and it meant nothing.
Right.
Like we didn't get any more shows or less shows. We didn't get more money or less money. We didn't. And it's just like, it just feels like objectively silly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, no matter what. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it seems like, going back to like the Grammys, not like album of the year, but if you're in your category and you take the Grammy for that, it almost seems like that takes you to bigger venues. That ups your ticket prices. I have a Grammy now, so I can't play this 2,500 seat venue anymore. Right. I'm priced out of it. I can't do it.
Well, look at like Sturgill. I mean, Sturgill won a Grammy, and people are like, I'm sorry, who?
Right.
Still, like people are like, who?
Yeah, but I also think like anybody that I, via a podcast or interviews or whatever, you start to get sort of a sense of people. Like I think we all have kind of a sense of who Sturgill is.
Yeah.
And all the people that when I get that sense, I still feel like, oh, I like this person.
Yeah.
All those people think awards are dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that I think like, that person rules and I love their art and they are obsessed with trying to win awards. It just feels like, it's the same with people trying to make a ton of money. It's a terrible reason to get into music. And for better or worse, and just worse. It's worse. There's already too much like competition and gatekeeping and bullshit, especially in music. So like, I myself am not. I should word it like this because I don't want to like. I truly don't want to shit on anybody, and I don't want to like take anything away from anybody else. But like, I'm not interested at all, which is good because I haven't been nominated for anything in about 6 years.
Same year, different badge.
Which can only mean that our last 5 records were bad.
They were bad.
They were bad records.
According to the scene.
Doesn't explain any of the shows we've played.
It doesn't explain any of the. We've been very fortunate. In fact, it probably works in our favor. Anyway.
Tell me this: if my records are so bad, how'd I end up on a hit podcast?
That's right. What? Best podcast? Duh, we're taking that.
Yeah, and see, I think they should give everybody a very specific, narrow award. Like if we won the award for best podcast, that is
Best
filmed
Fox
at
Valley
Jackson
podcast.
Company on Monday nights. I
Monday
display
nights?
that shit somewhere.
The 6 to 8 time frame.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to give us an award for being the best band called The New Old Things, I would pay for all 4 of us to get one.
Yeah. Well, the good
Something
thing is that you
around
can
our
pay.
necks. You'd be like, what's that? Oh, we're the best New Old Things.
Yeah, that's
No
right.
big.
That's right. No
Oh,
bigs.
big.
No bigs.
Big flex.
I was trying to think of a different grievance, but we kind of talked about the officiating, which was a grievance.
Officiating's bad.
It was just bad. Is
They
there
need to
any
start
other?
using technology?
We could move on to Crunchy Corner.
We could.
Because we do have a pretty delicious option.
Better.
It's got to be better.
If you pull out a
Oh my
diaper
God.
flavored crisp, you're
No, I will not eat chips unless I very clearly know what flavor they are ahead of time. Now, I liked the mystery last week.
It was fun until we found out.
That it was not fun.
But these,
Another puzzle.
Show me the super easy way of putting this
It's
together.
not a super easy way to do it. It's just
these,
I probably should have looked at it before I took it apart.
that right there. Hers.
jalapeno popper.
Jalapeno poppers.
So see that intrigues me because like
Not
that
a chip.
It feels like a variety of different flavors to put into a chip because you got to get the breading,
The cheese.
the cheese, the jalapeno.
Well, oven baked with real cheese because hers. That's what they do.
They don't put those fucking chemicals that California doesn't approve of in them.
By the way, had the barbecue Doritos. They're this fucking guy. I chose these instead.
Here, I thought we
I
were
thought these were
in it
together.
I thought this meant something to you, Andrew. I thought we were in this together.
Oh, look at those. I am a puffed Cheeto fan,
I
so this
didn't
is right
realize
up my alley.
See, I'm a crunchy Cheeto guy.
I like them both, but,
Oh,
well, that's real good.
shut up.
My goodness. That's
real good.
incredible.
That's really good.
Yep.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be investing in them and get them up outside of Menards.
You know what? I take back everything I said about awards. Give the Herr's people the Chippy or whatever it's called.
Whatever.
We should give out an award at the end of the year called the Chippy
Let's
for
do
the
it.
the winner of the Crunchy
Let's do
Corner.
it.
And we'll call the company on the phone.
We will. Let's do that. I'll call them from my phone. We'll call the general number during the day.
Yeah.
We'll ask to talk to somebody.
They won't let us.
They have the trophy and engraving store in town
won't
here.
let
We
us.
can send them one.
So I'll call again and then leave a message somewhere.
To speak to her.
Mr. Herr. Well, Ed, Chairman and CEO, his signature's on every bag.
Those
Those
are
are
good
great.
work. That's a really good chip. I do wish it was chipped though.
Yeah.
It needs. There's a slightly a crunch element that I'm wishing was more present. If this was like a kettle cooked, ooh.
There was a buffalo mac and cheese Old Dutch chips that were limited time at Woodman's for a while, but they're not there anymore. Those were really good. They were hot. Those are excellent.
Those
Good chips.
are super good. Might have to go seek those out.
You have redeemed yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Putting that
Oh, my God.
crayfish flavored monstrosity.
That was awful. It was so bad. And, like, everything about it was weird. They were in a tray.
The whole
Like,
thing was
inside
really
of a tube, inside of a tray.
I did like that aspect of it. I don't like having to dig way down and use your fingers to grab the last chip.
Are you getting that puzzle, Chris, or no?
Working on it.
Well, it seems like you're pulling it apart again. Starting from scratch again.
Yeah. That's the trick.
Reset.
Yeah.
Is there
Not
is
like what the Packers should do.
Oh, my God.
Tear it down.
Just so you can build it back up. Lastly, Aaron Rodgers is rumored that he'll be gone.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Unless you have the internet at home.
Unless you had the internet at home.
Then maybe you heard it. Also.
now has he actually said that, or was it
No, he's not gonna
the
say anything
sweet
now.
Adam Schefter report that
You know
has
the
his
agents are
sources?
leaking- yeah. You know the source of
But
it.
I mean, okay,
But it's a smart
let's
deal.
discuss this.
Both sides are doing it.
Sure.
If it's not his agent, it's probably the Packers leaking it, for sure. And that shit happens all the time.
Bam!
Well done.
Thank you.
Little opinion puff.
All right, now I have to know. I got to do it myself.
No, Adam's gonna attempt it again.
It's gonna suck.
The new
Here's
season
a
of
question.
Letterkenny was pretty good.
Yeah. Here's a question.
Yep.
I haven't really seen like a funny movie lately, like a new funny movie come out. Like I feel like that for a while there were the like it seemed like Paul Rudd or Jason Bateman were coming out with some hilariously funny movie.
Yeah, or Judd Apatow was.
Judd
firing
Apatow
them off
movie
every
was
6
between
months.
those like
Yeah,
every 6 months to a year there was something that those guys were all doing.
Yeah.
And I don't think they put anything out in a long time. And it's
You know
weird.
What, you know what you can look forward to though?
What?
When your child gets to the age where you can start showing them the movies that you loved when you were like 13. For example, we just watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with Ollie.
Oh man.
It holds up. Everything except
I bet it does. Of
It's
course
got
it
the worst like screensaver style CGI I've ever seen in my life. Hey!
Oh, look at that! Adam did it. Okay, here we go. Grievance.
Sort of.
Well, yes.
We're not all on social media. So like, if you want people to know things,
Tell people.
text my wife and have her tell me.
She
what's
will then
going on.
text Chris's manager, who will then text Chris's agent, who will then call Chris.
Yeah. And when they're not raising my son, they'll tell me. So the gist, okay, do you have a clear image of this? My understanding is, and again,
I've heard two versions of it, but they're
Okay.
the same general.
So I don't know I don't know anybody involved anymore because Fox River House was sold, so we don't know who owns that. And I also don't know who owns McGinnis.
I don't know who owns McGinnis either.
But apparently, McGinnis, which is located about
Well-
this far away from Fox River House,
Far away.
they want to have outdoor music. And understandably, here, we'll do it like this. You sing a song to Adam, and then in the middle of it, I'll start singing.
What's happening?
It doesn't work.
So this is McGinnis.
Yep.
This is Fox River House.
Yep.
See how they curl up together real tight?
This is a noise variance.
Here's the stage.
Yep.
Here's the outdoor patio
Yep.
of McGinnis, which stretches out right about like this, like a little box. Mm-hmm. Fox River House also goes out to here. This is part of the stage. Out to about yay. Speakers are facing this way. So McGinnis over here.
Yeah. So McGinnis wants to do outdoor music, which is complicated because it's not illegal to have outdoor music. They should be able to do what they want.
Complex thing.
But if they do, it will destroy the music in Fox River House.
And we've been big fans of
Like
Fox
this.
River House.
It's not good.
So then what happens is, oh, noise grievance. Well, there goes the stage.
There you go.
There is some hurt feelings going around because it doesn't sound like there's a willingness to play well together between the two venues.
Sure.
Which sort of sucks because on the one side, Fox River House has done a whole lot the last few years to make sure they have good sound now. They are paying for it. They moved the stage a little bit, trying to create a
at
cool.
Fox River House for over a decade.
Yeah,
We have big love for Fox River House.
and they've gone through a lot, but they've got it to a point where it sounds really good. They have booking very straightforward, bringing in a lot of really good talent. It's a really cool place, and they've built a really cool vibe. So it's fine to have competition, but I know there was an incident last year where there was some kerfuffling by the neighbors to try to stop music before music was supposed to be stopped. When it was booked, shouldn't have been a problem.
I always thought like, you know what would be cool is how Fox River House can't have music when it's cold out.
Yeah.
But how McGinnis has that beautiful big back room there. Why don't they combine? This is probably just me being a a wishful thinker. But they should work together and like we'll share lists or whatever of bands and that kind of thing. And in the winter or when it rains, it'll be in the Guinness. Right. In the summer, it'll be outside, and we'll, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that fence. Call it Fox River Guinness, Fox McGiver House. Boom.
It seems like the real issue is that the current process with the city council to become a business and to be able to have outside hours and things like that is that the city's rules around it, or the process around requesting these things to get ordinances and things like that, is very gray.
Bureaucracy has failed us
Again.
Weird.
What?
So it's creating, basically because the neighbors, it's allowing the neighbors to sort of disrupt things a little bit. Because there's no clarity around what the actual process is. It's Fox River House has sort of carved its own thing out, but there's no real structural reasons or city guidance on what you can and can't do.
And all of this is happening, and this is sort of what part of the argument was about.
I'm just gonna eat. We're gonna.
In the backdrop, all this is happening while Appleton is portraying itself as a very art and music-friendly community,
Right.
And in fact is sort of experiencing a lot of growth because of that, whilst hacking our knees out from under us.
And then what happens is you don't really have any of these things left.
And nothing's sadder than when, bureaucracy eats up all your jalapeno poppers. There's your metaphor right there.
Well, that's about as good as a lesson as we're ever going to give people.
If you're on the city council and you want to come on a super serious podcast and eat some
talk
chips
about it, let's do
and
it.
tell us what the fuck you're thinking,
We'd love it.
how I'm supposed to feed my baby,
Yeah.
don't let us play no more music. Because is there
Open
not a
invite.
concern that, the city council's just going to shut it all down?
Probably.
For fear that they can't fairly sort this thing out. They just,
Right.
what's that Bible story where Jesus cuts that baby's head off or something?
All of it? I don't know.
Well, we'll put it here. We'll just say open invite to anybody at city council. Come join us, talk about that or whatever. Or let's get Jake on. Let's get Mayor Jake.
But he probably does love chips. Wouldn't that be funny if that's just how we lure people? You like chips? It's basically a chip-focused
You like chips?
podcast.
What do you got against chips?
Yeah.
You want to come on the show?
I think it'd be funny if we had a podcast called the Chips Podcast and we called each other Ponch and John, but all we did was talk about potato chips. A lot of Eric Estrada fans going, "This sucks, dude. I have been hoodwinked."
Fuck that! I don't like people playing on my phone. All right.
This table doesn't want to stay together.
That's it for me.
3, 2, 1.